evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, and it's very exciting that this is the first OTEA webinar that we conducted. So I'm going to present about opportunities to commercialize OTEC. Okay, just so before we move on, just a little bit about me. I'm Nadia Fedina. I'm the founder of Lumare Energy. My educational background is actually chemical engineering, gas and petrochemical engineering to be exact. And professional background is in oil and gas. I was working for 15 years in LNG and FPSO projects for BP. My assignment, not is only Indonesia. I started in Indonesia, but most of my career are outside of Indonesia. And my specialties started as process engineer and then branch out into project and management and operations management. So how I got into OTEC was quite personal. It was a diving experience that I smelled fume from a diesel generator, and then I thought there must be a good way, a better way of doing things in idyllic islands like this. And so since then, I started to research about renewable energies. I was still working for BP at that time, but I started to casually research on the side, and I came across about OTEC, and I like it, and I think this is an ideal technology for island environment. So I even took my master's degree and major project in about OTEC application in Indonesia. So not long after that, I quit my job and to focus more in OTEC. So that's how I got into OTEC. And about Lumare, it's an Indonesian startup founded recently in 2019. Some of you asked about why the name is actually from two Latin words, lux, which is light, and mare, which is sea. So lux plus mare equals to light from the sea. Okay, so this in this opportunity, we're talking about achieving carbon neutrality with more OTEC application, which I think is a good way to doing it, because OTEC, Lars will probably talk about it more, but we can achieve carbon neutrality with more OTEC applications. But the thing is, there is a value of death. Value of death is is actually a startup term, used in startup term to about this dip from your R&D to your success as a business when a technology is actually fully commercially viable, and you need a lot of funds to commercialize it, and this is where usually it's stagnant in that dip. So the irony is that professional investors such as angels and VCs, venture capitalists, they're normally reluctant to invest in products that's just still in research and development, because it's still risky. So, so how do we actually bridge that gap, right? So in OTEC terms about this is, we always said that OTEC will be fully commercialized, fully viable commercially, is when the megawatt is big, right? So that is actually economies of scale is actually commercially viable. But then it is hard to find private investors, professional investors that want to invest in such a risky business. So I'd like to explore a little bit some suggestions how to actually bridge that gap as a private sector. Okay, so as a startup for innovative product, normally you need three factors, which is technology. You need to be successful for technology, market, and finance. And the technology is already proven. OTEC, although not yet commercialized, is already proven. We're not going to talk about finance. And so in the scope of this presentation, we're going to talk about the market. And obviously, because I'm from Indonesia, my point of view about talking about the market is really Indonesia based. You can see, I know that not many of you are from Indonesia here in the forum, but maybe you can get ideas, or maybe we can discuss if that's also applicable in your case. So I'd like to talk a bit about Indonesia in the next slides. All right, so I'm not sure, this is not quite clear, but in Indonesia, Indonesia has 34 provinces. It's a large country, as you see, it's surrounded by ocean, and it has 17,000 islands. I cannot name 100 of them even, but it has a lot of islands. And it has a lot of population also. It's a fourth or fifth biggest in the world, I think, 270 million people in Indonesia. So it has big economy. And the most populated part is actually in Jakarta, in the west part where Jakarta is. You can see that's also in Java Island. That's one of the most populated area. Yes, thank you. So in that, the most developed also are mostly in the western part where a lot of infrastructure development is. And there is no shortage of electricity and energy supply in that part of Indonesia. In eastern part is a different story. And coincidentally, it's also where OTEC is actually more, the potential is highest. I don't know if this can, sorry, I don't know if my screen is a little bit too bright, but you can see that it's a lot of deep part in the eastern part of Indonesia. That's where OTEC potential is very high. Indonesia is actually one of the largest in the world, the largest in the world for OTEC potential. And that's because also from temperature profile, you can see that that's the one in the white circle, that is Indonesia. It is warm. The surface seawater is warm. Yeah. So this is just a zoom in of that temperature diagram. So in conclusion, Indonesia has very large potential for OTEC. Yeah, and there's also demand. Indonesia also has big economy, so it is a good playground to actually play with commercialization of OTEC, in my opinion. All right. Okay. So this is also this is all these pictures. I get it from internet really. So this one is actually historical pathway of what you call it, a typhoon. So you can see that Indonesia is actually in the middle. It doesn't have a lot of hurricanes. Yeah, that's the word. The hurricanes in Indonesia. So yeah, it's ideal for OTEC actually. Okay, now we're talking about the business model for commercialization. So as a startup entrepreneur, we wanted to start small, profitable from the start. And ideally, we can give return of investment to investors within few years. The reason also that for OTEC we want to start small is that the proven one, the pilot size is already proven. It's already built in Hawaii and Kumejima, and before that also. So as a startup entrepreneur, I would prefer to be rich and start from already, so that professional investors like angels and VCs are more have more confidence. And when you can demonstrate that actually the return investment is a bit is high, then you have a viable business proposal. Okay, so now how to monetize OTEC, right? So first you can sell electricity. Electricity is cents per kilowatt hours. It's a marginal business. In Indonesia, it means you can only sell it to one party here, which is the state-owned electricity company. And in my opinion, it's not very attractive because the price, electricity price is heavily regulated. But unfortunately, with OTEC, you have another way to monetize it, which is deep sea water, from deep sea water. Deep sea water is a unique commodity because it's clean and it's cold and it has high nutrient and mineral content, right? So this is actually a Kumejima model that that inspired me to see. Ben, I think Ben will present that, but just a long story short, I was very inspired when I visited Kumejima and met Ben there. I was very inspired to see how this deep sea water can have a lot of derivative product, such as the ones in agriculture and aquaculture, even for spa. Yeah, it is very nice to see. And so as an entrepreneur, I can see a lot of angles that you can actually play with, you know, to be a revenue stream for the OTEC plant. So after many months of evaluation, technical and economical, we came up with the following concept. So what we do in Lumares now is it's the pilot size. We stick with the pilot size because of the reason that I mentioned before. And revenue streams from deep sea water. We chose bottled water and sea salt. I'm going to come up in the next slides why we chose that. But of course, other revenue streams can be explored, include aquaculture and agriculture products, and green hydrogen and ammonia as energy carrier can also be viable revenue streams, but for larger scale OTEC plant. And the next concept is, of course, is OTEC powered. This is why we're doing it, right? So based on this and based on our case, we decided that it's going to be onshore. Indonesia is blessed with the natural. Indonesia is also blessed naturally because the depth required for is not too far from shore. It's about 1 to 2 kilometers from shore, and the three locations that we're looking at is actually more to 1 kilometer than 2 kilometers. So it is quite special. So that's why onshore is also we chose onshore because of that first, and second because our background is from oil and gas, and we see that offshore operations can add complexity. So which is okay if you're a larger entity, but as a startup, I would like to de-risk, and that's why we stay onshore. Okay, so why we came up with bottled mineral water? Because first off, again, for Indonesia case, there's no drinkable tap water in Indonesia. So everybody actually drink for bottled water in Indonesia. So it has high demand and big market. And also a liter of bottled mineral water is more expensive than a liter of oil currently. With current oil price about what, $70 per barrel. It is actually per liter is it's even in Indonesia, it is still cheaper than liter of water. Right. So, and then sea salt. Sea salt. When we research about sea salt, I then learned about natural sea salt, which still has a lot of natural means minimally processed, and the more I learn about sea salt, the more wow, everybody needs salt apparently. So I'm kind of like, I'm very much into it. And also, coincidentally, I also learned that there is a traditional salt making in Indonesia, which produces high quality artisanal sea salt. When I tasted it, it tastes a lot better than the common table salt. Unfortunately, it's a dying art. So I feel like I would like to contribute for this industry too. It's also a good way for community engagement. So this is something that we have started to actually make connections with the farmers, which coincidentally also in Indonesia coastlines are a lot. So it's there's a lot of salt farmers around potential OTEC locations. Okay, so this is our brand. We just launched it, the artisanal sea salt. We launched it this year. The idea is that we have developed the brand. We do the downstream part, the marketing side, and so when the OTEC plant is ready with the brand can be processed and evaporated to be salt, then it can be put into this brand. Like we already learned the business, we already have an early start. So that's the idea of making it a brand from that we can start from now. So ideally, we're going to do this cycle too, like making a separate but integrated business for the mineral water after this. At the moment, we're growing this, and we're going to do the same process for mineral water after this. So this is just some illustrations and photos about the salt, and then how we with the farmers. And then there's also the one in the that's one of the examples of salt farming, the salt farm. There was not too many activities at that time because it was during rainy season. That's how traditional it was. It is depends on the sun. Okay, so conclusions. With OTEC, we can be creative with business models. Actually, out of all renewable energy technologies, I feel that, and I think that OTEC is the most exciting for startup entrepreneurs, because you can have this deep sea water that you can actually use as your revenue stream, and you can be creative about your business model. So it's fun. You can have fun with it too. So, and I would like to start small but profitable from the start. And in the meantime, so that hopefully we can bridge that gap in the death of valley into the success as a business. And in the meantime, proving the concept of OTEC through these deep sea water products. So of course, after that, also still in that stage, commercialization. Next aim, we can aim for bigger OTEC plant with hydrogen or ammonia as energy carrier. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.